Whenever you're ready, go for it.
All right, so we're Sigma Chi. This is our citizenship pillar, the Bay Area chapter. I am Nicholas Smith. I'm the current, what we call proconsul, which is the equivalent of vice president.
I'm Kerrigan Kane. I'm a senior. I'm actually the outgoing vice president, but I'm also now the new member educator. We call it Magister, but new member educator. And for this presentation, I mean, it's going to be, I hope it's open. You guys can ask questions at any point. Feel free. It's not really, we're here to present. You guys can just think of your questions and write them down. Just ask me if you have them. Totally fine. So.
All right, so citizenship in Sigma Chi. We are striving for excellence. We believe we should always strive for excellence. Why? It's because our citizenship goes way beyond our community service. It pertains, it's prevalent in our ritual, in our leadership, how we hold each other accountable. Our risk management goes hand in hand with accountability, but it's more of like the plans in place to ensure accountability. Goes with our philanthropy, with how we get the community involved with our philanthropy. And last but not least, there's been this recent change in culture in Sigma Chi, which is pretty evident of how our citizenship has been growing in our chapter and how it's been evolving since over the past 2 years.
2-3 years. So first, just hitting on like the first thing in citizenship is just community service, right? So we do have a service hour requirement to make sure everybody gets involved with their community service. Usually it lies around 6 to 8 hours a semester, depending on Greek life for requirements and then how many brothers we have. But usually everybody meets that requirement and then exceeds it by a couple hours, depends on the year. But we really take pride in our service having some kind of deeper meaning, seeing some kind of something come out of the service. So we do things like go down to the cultural garden, drive on Martin Luther King, and meet up with some of the people who take care of the gardens there and talk with them and clean up the gardens, and just learn about their culture. We went to Slovakia, the Slovakia one, and they had actual people with Slovakian descent there, and they would teach us about their culture as we're cleaning up, just having a good time. And other things we do, Spartans for Special Olympics, the children with disabilities, and really the big one that we like to portray is this Haley School tutoring. It's actually a school started by one of our alumni. So we have a pretty close relationship with this school. It's 10, 15 minutes away right down the road in Warrensville, Ohio. And we basically go there, and it's a charter school for underprivileged kids in grades kindergarten through 5th. It's actually expanded. It used to be kindergarten through 4th. They've added another grade because it's done so well. We basically go there and tutor these kids in math and reading. They have to take, I don't know if anybody here is from Ohio, but we have OGTs in high school that you have to pass high school. It's kind of similar for that. They have to pass these tests at the end of the year to move on to the next grade. And we help them prepare for that. And the whole meaning behind this is it's great for us because we get to see these kids succeed or at least advance upon their knowledge. It's very interesting to see the difference of how fortunate we've been. We're a case. We have a great education. We've had very fortunate circumstances come our way. And we believe that they have the same right to have this great education, these opportunities. And it's kind of cool to see that we can help them realize their potential and can kind of hit these opportunities. And then it also gets into, it's a whole community involvement. Like they're 10 minutes away. It's really cool to see they're so close to us. We can go visit them all the time. And pretty much, I'd say about 80-85% of the brothers get involved in this. They get really excited. Everybody enjoys going to the school once a week for about an hour or 2 hours, depending on your schedule. It fits into wherever your schedule. I think that's our most.
And might I add, actually, Rich Ronick, our alumnus, recently had like a heart condition, so we weren't able to set this up until halfway through the semester. We just got it set up, and the amount of brothers that just kept asking me and like asking our service chair, like, when is this going to get set up? It's going to get set up. And it's more than just service hours. They like really wanted to go. They really wanted to like help these kids out, because last year, like, it was just more of the connection with the kids. They really enjoyed it. So
They actually call us coaches, not tutors. They get really excited because we're like, they're about this tall, and they're like, oh, the coaches are here. It's
they don't understand what brothers mean, so like they actually think we're all brothers too.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, he's your brother, but he's like 50 years older than you, and he's a brother. It's actually quite interesting. So,
but another thing, also with service hours stuff, we really like the interaction that we get with service. When it comes to what he was saying with the cultural gardens and the Special Olympics, we were interacting directly with people we were helping. There's other service events where it was more just like figure out clean stuff or like do like clerical stuff for an organization, and you don't actually interact with them. So there's other community service things out there that we do use just for hours, but these ones that he hit on are more the interaction, and it's you learn a lot more from it.
and that kind of gets into like where we're trying to improve or goals that we're looking for the future. That's that last one there, demonstrate a deeper meaning to all service events. Having some kind of meaning towards your service, right? Getting towards the Haley School, the Spartans for Special Olympics, realizing that you're making an impact, and having this interaction that you're kind of getting something out of it, just opposed from doing the work or doing the service. And other things like goals for ourselves, maintain our excellence in service. I mean, that may not be being top in service hours. It may be doing something with meaning and really having an impact on these students or on these athletes for the Special Olympics. And then lastly, so in our scholarship program, we actually have an incentive program, and it's worked very, very well. We've been top of GPA for the past couple semesters, and having an incentive program, I think, really pushes people to reach beyond their limits or kind of exceed what they can do. So we're hoping to get something like that in place. Instead of it makes it kind of fun, a little competition, doesn't hurt anybody, and it makes it more fun. Then there's opportunity for growth there. So.
All right, our Sigma Chi ritual is very unique, and it really like helps our chapter, especially in the areas of culture of care. Our ritual is designed to help others and foster their individuality. It's designed for you to be who you are. It's about like being in an objective environment where you can say whatever is on your mind, say whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, and no one will judge you. And it really helps, each other, us care for each other and make sure like everything's okay. And it doesn't just like go with our chapter. It also goes like if there's a problem in other relationships in our lives, our ritual helps us like talk about that as well. So we can also maintain positive relationships with other people. If you can talk to a brother without feeling judged, without feeling a little biased towards you, it's a very open environment. It's great for anyone who has anything on their mind. So this also helps our chapter and individual standards in a way where like our fraternal values are very entrenched in our ritual. Those values are friendship, justice, and learning. And during our ritual, we reach out to each other as a sign of friendship. And if there's something going on in someone's lives and maybe some brother stepped out of line a little bit, we will hold them accountable, but in a way where it's not confrontational, but it's more in a way where it's just, why'd you do that, man? Like, it's more of a constructive environment, and it's how our ritual like is really strong in these areas. And we believe this culture of care has developed greatly these past 2 years because of that. And leadership. So this kind of goes off of like how we've been developing as a chapter. I've seen a immense growth in the role models at every chapter when I started here 2 years ago versus now. Our role models are they're just more gentlemen. They really are people I want to look up to, they're people who you should look up to, and it really just changes the whole idea of like what we're striving to be as men in Sigma Chi. A big part of that is our officer transitions. The older brothers are still involved in the fraternity as much as they don't hold a position anymore. Evident of it right here, he was our past vice president. I'm the current one. He's helped me through this process, and a lot of that is more than just, instead of, oh, I did my job, see you later, it's more like, we left off here, let's improve upon that and keep going. Like, it's more about improving, it's more about not just doing what you need to do and get out of there. It's about thinking about the future and where we should be heading more than just doing what we're supposed to be doing.
A huge thing with officer transition is you can have an officer finish at some point, and then a new officer comes in without an officer transition. They have to kind of have this little learning curve of the position where they left off, and that could take a whole semester, and then you get to where this person left off, and you're already a semester in your position. Officer transitions really help maintain that point and then improve upon that from there, as opposed to being 5-6 steps behind.
And I think the whole why we've been so good with this lately just shows why we have better role models in the chapter. You know, people are willing to help the younger brothers more. They're willing to really advance the chapter by showing them along this process and showing where we should be and what we're striving for. And, it's great all around right now.
So we talked about this huge culture change in our chapter, and it really lies at the heart of this slide and the next slide: accountability and risk management. Accountability, it used to be just really it lied on the people in charge, like the president, vice president, the risk manager. Really, that was it. But there was this whole shift a couple of years ago that it's a whole chapter-wide responsibility to be accountable. It's not just the vice president's job to be on top of everybody. It's the newest member has to be on top of the president for whatever he does. And what's kind of helped us with that is having an active judicial board. Really having J-board members trained so they're prepared for what they're going to see. And it used to be this whole, if you go to the J-board, you're going to be punished and it's going to be severe, it's going to be strict because you got to learn from this. We're going to use you as a scapegoat to kind of show, don't do this. It's kind of grown out of this culture that this is now a learning process, right? You get in trouble, we're going to do something to help you grow from this and help the chapter grow together, as opposed to just some punitive action that would kind of detract from the whole situation. There's a lot of growth ability there. And then the Sober SIG program, so this is completely new, and it kind of gets into risk management. I'll talk about it a little here. Basically, as I said, with the accountability lying on just the people in leadership positions, this kind of gets at a whole culture of accountability in the whole chapter. It's basically a program where every brother is split into a group of 4 or 5 people, and you're basically on a weekly rotation of being sober for the week, and you're in charge of making sure everybody's safe, everything's safe, depending on what's happening every week. And that used to just be the president, vice president, and risk manager. Now it's everybody's responsibility. It creates this huge culture of accountability. Everybody is responsible at some point. It's not just these guys at the top, really. And then, so risk management isn't just holding people accountable, right? It's being able to take your accountability, but then also have something structured, something to rely on top of that. So basically, about 2 years ago, right, I came into the chapter 3 years ago. 2 years ago, we basically revamped our entire risk management program. We set in new guidelines, which involved that Sober SIG program, which is now completely functional. We've kind of worked out the kinks in that, which is nice. And then we also had these risk management guidelines. And when I came into the chapter, we were kind of in a rut. We were basically on university sanctions, on Greek life sanctions.
On our own sanctions.
On our own sanctions too, eventually.
Which we kind of like put ourselves on these sanctions because we're just like, we did that to prevent what was going to happen because we saw ourselves not ready for a wet house.
Right.
It was just not. It just wasn't going. We recognized that we weren't going down the right path, so we had to put those sanctions on ourselves, which led to this whole transition plan, which I let you talk about.
Basically, our chapter was heading down a slippery slope. We were kind of losing sight of the whole point of our fraternity. It was more a social environment as opposed to a whole ritual, values-based fraternity. So we got on all these sanctions, and at that point, we kind of realized, hey, we need to change what we're doing, or we're going to lose our chapter, we're going to lose our charter. And so we had this whole revamped new risk management guidelines, sober sig program, and it kind of started this change in culture where everybody started being accountable. Everybody started realizing, hey, we really got to change what we're doing, or else it's over. We're not going to have a chapter anymore. And then we finally got off all these sanctions from the university, and we imposed kind of our own sanctions of ourselves to kind of hold us accountable just a little bit further, to make sure, kind of as a transition period, just to make sure that we're really capable of moving forward. And I think that it has really helped us moving forward. A huge culture shift or mindset, essentially.
Which I'll get into later.
Yeah, it's very difficult to take somebody who's so set on doing this and basically doing a complete 180. It's definitely a process, which is why it's taken about 3 years or 2.5 years. But I think it's really paid off now, seeing that we have this whole culture in our chapter of being accountable, taking everything seriously, and I think it's paid off. And then these last couple points here are just, we take care of our house, pass all our walkthroughs, kind of keep everything clean and tidy. But yeah. And then kind of shifting gears completely, so another side of citizenship is philanthropy. Another thing we take very seriously. So we basically give our philanthropy to the Huntsman Cancer Institute. It's a research center, a hospital based in Utah. It's actually built like a hotel for 2 reasons, actually. The first one is for the patients that are there right now. They can bring in their families and basically live there in a comfortable environment that's nice. It's not really like a hospital at all. And then the person who started is actually Sigmund Kai. He visions seeing the end of cancer or kind of finding a cure. And when that happens, you can basically just make it into a hotel as opposed to having it just as a hospital, which I think is kind of cool. But our philanthropy, it's a week-long event called Derby Days. Really try and get the whole community involved. It's a huge competition between, it used to be just sororities, now we've opened up to fraternities, trying to get the whole community involved, get everybody working towards our goal. And we've really taken large